Welcome to the 200 movie challenge, where our goal is to watch 200 new movies that we haven't seen this year. We are on episode 11 and we got just three movies to talk about this week, but it's definitely going to be an interesting three to talk about, Soto, because the one that you saw, I actually watched last year as well, and I got some words for that.
Oh, okay.
But before we get into it, every month or so, I kind of just look at my list and I just wonder, like, am I make like I wonder if I made the right choice, if something was too high, too low, and as I talk things out, I rethink it. And I did make a couple quick changes, nothing kind of major. I mean, so I had Air at number two. Now, I do love Air. I love Michael Jordan and I love this story. But I was looking at some of the
Great.
other movies. There's actually a comment. Someone's like, I'm not even a basketball fan, and they loved Air because of the story of Nike. Because that's the big thing. It's really how Nike just became this
It's
global
it's a
phenomenon.
great it's a great business story, and
Correct.
it's also like a lucky thing. I was just talking about this with my buddy, and he had said he had watched it as well, and it's an amazing stroke of luck, and the fact that you mentioned that Michael Jordan is still making what $400 million a year
Last year he made
for
four
this
hundred
deal.
million. Yeah, but
Yeah, and
Nike's
it's
making
like
like one
just based
point
on
six billion. So,
Well, it's not even about like Jordans anymore. Like, it's not even about like Michael Jordan being the brand. Like when I worked with kids at my last place where I worked at a dispensary, and everyone's wearing Jordans and their Jordans are matching their like shirts and their fit is all about Jordans. Like it's still real hot right now. And so I probably might check out this movie at some point this year for sure.
oh no, I people should definitely see this movie, and I did have to drop it a few though, because thing again, I go back to my enjoyment, and it's actually a movie I probably would watch again if it was on. But I was just looking at some of the ones in between. I'm like, I just enjoyed them so much more. So I actually moved Air from like two to six. So it's under Clerks three,
Mhm.
above Uncharted. Not a big drop, but I'm like, there was just like you said, the honeymoon feel to it. And then I was kind of looking at the
I
middle of
know
the
that.
list, and I had like a Fair to Remember, which is an oldie, but it was actually decent. But then I'm looking at like Scream 6 and Terrifier 2, and I'm just like, God, those two movies just did things differently. So I moved an Affair to Remember down a couple spots. I actually put Affair to Remember down below Terrifier 2, and then above. So,
Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
well, it was just more to drop because I'm like, again, I'm not going to go seeking this movie. It was good for what it was. And I think I
Yeah,
said in the review that a lot of romance movies get their tropes from this film. And it
sure.
is wholesome because again it's 50s, so it's a little bit different. But I'm not going back to watch it. But it still was good. I'm glad I watched that one. But it's not going to be as memorable as some of the Terrifier 2 scenes or even Scream 6. I know they're on their sixth, movie, but again, they've done things differently. So anyhow,
Jesus.
I kind of moving things around, and again, I feel
Okay.
like I'm happy. I don't see anything else. But Soto, let's just get right into it. What was the one movie you watched this week, which I know we kind of teased the last couple of
Ugh,
weeks?
we sure did, and wow, what a ride this was. So I watched Unhinged, starring a very heavy set Russell Crowe,
Mm-hmm.
and I talked about it. I'd seen memes and I'd see like little snippets on TikTok being like, I don't think you know what a bad day is. But you're gonna find out. And I was like, what fucking movie is this? And I saw it, pop up on Netflix, and we talked about it, and it was a nice 90-minute movie, and I was like, okay, this is what's up. So I popped it in, and I'm gonna tell you right now, dude. I, my biggest takeaway from this movie, or at least my lead thought with this movie, is that there is not a single fucking wasted moment in this entire movie. That doesn't make it the greatest movie of all time, but this movie starts off and immediately Russell Crowe's character is killing people and burning houses down from the first scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
So immediately it sets up everything about his character, and everything that happens in this movie sets up everything else. And for those who don't know the story, I'll just do the very beginning of it, which is, a mom, she's really going through it like we all are, and she's taking her kid to school, and unbeknownst to her, this guy in the pickup truck, it's Russell Crowe, who has obviously just burned a house down and killed some people, is stopped at a red light and then it goes green and then he doesn't move. And so she gives him like a really prolonged honk and then just kind of goes around him. And we all do it. Uh, and then they get stuck in traffic and he's kind of just like, hey, the kid rolls down his window and he can't roll back up, but it allows Russell Crowe and the woman to have a conversation. And he's pretty much just like, hey, have you ever heard of a courtesy beep? It's just like a little beep right now. That's all you had to do. Like, and so if you just apologize, we're gonna be straight. That's it. And so the kid is like, Mom, just apologize, and she, in her stubborn way, does not. And Russell Crowe takes that personally,
very
and
personally.
he very personally, he spends the rest of this very tightly written movie, terrifying the shit out of this woman and her family. And it goes in all sorts of crazy ways. It gets uber violent. He is horrifying in this movie. Um, I don't know if he put on this weight for the role, but he was like the largest I've ever seen him in a movie. But he was huge and he was scary and very physical, and just everything about him was like menacing. And this movie was absolutely fucking wild.
It was
And
insane.
it came in tight at 90. And again, there was never a moment in this film where I was like, this is dragging. I was always in suspense, wondering what the fuck the next thing was going to be. I was just in it for the ride, no pun intended. And I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it. And when the end credits came up and Don't Fear the Reaper cover came on, I was like, this is fucking perfect. Everything just This fucking movie just had its plot moved forward in such a nice tight way, that almost the perfect movie, and just the way that it set everything up. I mean, sure, there were some kind of corny things. I don't know much about Fortnite, and apparently the Fortnite strategy is what ends up, being important at the end of the movie. I've never played a single fucking match of Fortnite,
I don't
and
know
I'm
if that
proud of that.
strategy is legit, to be honest with you, or just like it is what it is.
But
They
I can't.
just
I don't fucking know. I was like the mom. I was like Fortnite. Yeah, cool. Like that's that game where like you can make all these characters from other games do these really dumbass dances and shit, and you have to build stuff. Whatever. I have zero interest in Fortnite. So I guess maybe that was kind of cheesy. I didn't really get that vibe because that kind of went over my head. But again, like I said, every single plot point was set up and closed out, and it ended, and I felt incredibly satisfied by the end of this movie. Absolutely satisfied.
well, I know we've talked about this a couple times, and when you mentioned it, I was like, I watched this last year because I was watching some horror movies during October, and I kind of saw this, and like you, it was 90 minutes, and I saw Russell Crowe. Yes, a very big Russell Crowe, which surprised me. So I don't know if he did it for this movie. I don't know, but either way, it
Either
goes from
way,
point A to point. It goes to the next point so quickly that you don't
yeah,
have time to think. Where you're right, he's not just menacing her family, her friends, just the strangers that are trying to help her. Like there's just
yeah,
insanity that's going on, and you don't think something will go there, and then when it does, and you're seeing just the most horrific, crashes and things happening, you're just like, God damn! I told you I was in for the ride, and I liked it for what it was. It was just pure
mhm.
entertainment. It did what it needed to do. I think when we were doing like the Olympic scores, I think I told you I gave it a 7.2, and that might have been underselling it, but I was just trying to rank it with other things that I had there. But it's still a
Mhm.
good, solid movie. I enjoyed it, but
This is a solid fucking movie. I don't know if I'll rewatch it. I don't know if it's got that kind of a thing. I'm not sure. But as a one-time experience of watching it, uh, it was such a fucking wild ride. And I remember texting you afterwards, being like, "Jesus Christ, this movie was fucking crazy." It was like that girl that we used to work with at Blockbuster is like, "Have you seen that movie, The Crazies? It's crazy." Remember she was missing her two front teeth? You remember that? Remember that chick?
not really. But in this town, there's a lot of people missing teeth,
She was
so
like,
I
"Have you
don't.
seen that movie, The Crazies? It's crazy." She used to work with me on Sundays. You scheduled her for me on Sundays. And it was right. It was during that time where you were trying to not schedule me to work with my future wife. So I was
Oh,
working
you know
with
what?
this.
I don't know why I was thinking a different blockbuster. Now I got you.
You know what I'm talking about. So, but yeah, in honor of that blockbuster CSR, this movie was absolutely crazy. And I'll tell you right now, because you're wondering,
What number?
where does this rank?
Where does the ring?
Where do I?
That's all we're doing in our rings. You know, because you have, let's see, before 22, this is your 23rd movie. So where in your list does this rank?
This movie, I'm pretty confident about this. I don't think it's going to change. It's number one. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm
Oh.
kidding. I'm kidding. Sorry, I had to. It's
If it
not
was
number
early
one.
on, I could believe number one, but seeing like your top couple, then it's just, without going further down, I'm like, there's no way it can beat the top two.
This movie is better than Lawrence of Arabia. No, this movie is actually going to be below Fall Guy and above Paddington. This is going to be my number 12 movie of the year.
Not a bad spot to go. I mean, if you
Yeah,
really think
that
about
again,
it, it's right middle of the road,
yeah,
you know.
it's middle of the road. Again, it just because it was tight doesn't mean it was spectacular. I do want to recognize the fact that it got in and got out because you know how I feel about my time.
Hmm.
And I did love Russell Crowe's performance, but this was by no means a mind fucking blowing movie. It was a very good thriller. And again, I put it above things like Paddington and Don't Look Up because while those, pretty good movies, this movie was good and it respected my time. I'm not saying that Paddington disrespected my time, but I just say I'm not going to put Paddington above Unhinged. So this is going to go below Fall Guy, and this will be number 12 for me this year.
Middle of the pack. Just where
Middle
it
of the
needs to
pack.
be.
That's
Nothing
it.
wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. This movie's towards the bottom of my list, which I liked. I just will never really watch again and wonder why they made
If you
it.
look, if you're hanging out with your significant other and you want to watch like a thriller, and you kind of just you got nothing else going on, maybe you want like a Friday, like make some popcorn and do some shit. This is the movie to watch. You both will be fucking like what the fuck? I can't believe this. You'll go on the ride together. It'll be over, and then I'm telling you, it's a great time. This is like an excellent Friday night movie. I would recommend it at Blockbuster Video, 100%.
Agreed. And I think I sold it to you when you first brought it up, and I was like, you got to see this. Excuse me, as I'm choking on nothing here. Um, no, I did enjoy it, and I'm glad I saw it. And like I said, um, Russell Crowe, heavier set Russell Crowe, still fucking good actor. You tend to forget how
Mhm.
good he can be, and I think we've talked about that a couple times. So Soto, I'm gonna get to my first movie, and it's a movie I teased last week because I knew I was gonna watch this past weekend with my wife, and we did watch Wicked. Technically, part one. There is going to be a part two coming out the end of the year, and if I end up seeing it in
Why?
theaters, why? Because it's based on a book, and there's a lot to it.
Oh, God Almighty!
So,
These part ones and part two, it's like a money grab, dude. It's like Dune. Don't even get me started on that shit.
so yes, we were very curious about it. Obviously, the book came out in like 1995. I bought it. I have yet to ever see the musical. Which the funny thing is, the musical is shorter than part one, so they are trying to add a little bit more story to it. And I will say,
The musical in Broadway is shorter than the movie?
well, yeah, the musical is like 2 hours and 45 minutes. But again, you got to realize the musical is based on the book. There's actually people don't realize that a lot of people think the musical came first. I'm like, no, there's a book that came out in the 90s about this story. And the musical had to, shorten it under 3 hours. So they cut out a lot. So the movie, that's why they're doing two parts to put in parts that couldn't be in the musical, which I know some people were fine with and some people hated because they're like, let's just show me what's in the
Well,
musical. But they wanted to add more
so
backstory.
so real quick, is Wizard of Oz based on a book? Like
Yes,
the original Wizard of Oz?
wasn't it?
I don't know this. I'm asking.
No,
I'm
I
asking
know it's a
you.
book series because I know they I believe Wizard of Oz was originally a book as well. But that book was way back whatever the 1900s, early 1900s. The Wicked was written in like I said the 90s. So they kind of wanted to tell a new story. So basically the way Wicked starts without spoiling this for anyone. I mean everyone's seen Wizard of Oz, so you
Okay.
kind of know how this ends, but it actually starts where Wizard of Oz ends. Glinda, and
What?
well, what happens is Glinda, the good witch, the one that gives Dorothy the shoes, is going to Munchkin Land and is telling people, "Hey, it is true. The Wicked Witch is dead," and they're rejoicing and they're happy, and obviously song and dance, whatever. And then one of the people in the town ask Glinda, "Hey, weren't you friends with the Wicked Witch at one point?" And Glinda's like, "Friends," and so the whole thing goes back to when they both go, for lack of better terms, a college, a school where they both
Oh
want to
my
become witches.
god.
Um,
Uh,
I know you're out of it, but dude, it was so. The one problem I had when I heard this movie was coming out was Ariana Grande
why?
starring as. Well, here's why. I know her from Victorious. I know her from Sam and Cat because of my daughter, so I knew her from this. But a lot of her music and stuff, there's just something annoying about her. I know she can sing. Do not get me wrong. But I was like, man,
You
she's
can
gonna
sing.
star as Glinda, and I don't know. But she proved me wrong. She had the chops. She played the kind of the same ditz character, which I felt kind of threw off the whole Good Witch vibe. Like I didn't think this witch was so much of a ditz, but that's how they were doing it. But the real star was the actress, and I can't remember her name, who played Afana Elfie, the Wicked Witch, who is born green because basically the wife cheated on her husband, and for some reason, which we have not fully learned, I don't know if we will learn. Um, she's been green her whole life. But the whole thing is, she actually is like a very powerful witch. She just doesn't know how to handle it. Her father doesn't like her. No one likes her. But when she loses control or gets mad, she has these powers that no one else really has. So she kind of gets into not sneaks, but they allow her into school because they see things that they've never seen anyone do, um, to start with. So, but it's basically the journey of how these two kind of become friends. Their trip to Emerald City to meet the wizard, who is played by Jeff Goldblum, which I was surprised to see. I was like, oh,
Oh,
Jeff
that's nice.
Goldblum, and Michelle Yeoh has a major role in this too, and I love her. So I was like,
Wow.
oh shit. So yeah, I don't want to get into too much. I don't want to bore you with like all the musical stuff. It did take a little bit
I'm
for this
not
movie to
no,
get.
I'm not bored
No,
by
no,
it. I
no. But
just
I'm not.
tell me the fucking
No, no.
was the story necessary? I guess is my
Yes,
question when it comes to
I
Wizard of
think.
Oz.
Well, personally, I think so because it kind of you get the backstory because it's the idea that not everyone, which we've heard time and time again, not everyone starts off evil. There's a reason behind it. But also not everyone's good because Glinda picked on the Wicked Witch and she gave, she was making fun of her, gave her the pointed hat, and then she just kind of realized how, bad, what she was doing was just awful. And though everyone
Yeah.
else was obviously laughing, they had this one moment, and I think that's just when they knew they were friends. And then obviously, I'm not trying to get more in the story because now I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it. But then the second
I'm a
half is
bit
where it really gets into it because even Joe's like, man, not much has happened. I'm like, yeah, but they're trying to give us a lot of story and how these two got here. And I'm like, it's going to get good in the second hour, the last hour, and I'm like into the second film. I wish I could grade this with both films, but I can't. I was I can only grade it from film one. But so it was actually really good. I know you're not a musical fan, um, but it actually was a really good story, and it is. I'm kind of interested because the other thing is, which a lot of people know, is we're going to see how Dorothy plays into this. We're going to see how the Scarecrow, Tin Man, and Lion. So they're bringing these characters, how they became to
uh,
be, because obviously it all leads into it. It's that time. Um,
who asked for this? Like who all right, okay, you know what? I'm gonna have an open mind, Shaq.
okay, no, okay.
I'm gonna ask you I'm gonna have an open mind because I'm
Ask a
not gonna
question.
be an
Ask
asshole
away.
like I normally am. I'm trying to not assume that my worldview is everybody else's, so I'm trying to grow. So, like, as I grew up and I was watching Wizard of Oz, d- never in my life did I say, you know what? I would just love to know the backstory of this. I would love to know how they got here. And so, okay, like that's one thing. But in your opinion,
Mhm.
and you like the story, and that's great. Is it because the music is good and because this was a Broadway hit, which I think it was? I haven't done much research,
Oh,
but I'm not
100%. This
stupid.
was a big Broadway hit.
But this was like a big Broadway hit. The music is great. People love the songs. Is it is it good because the songs are good or because the story is good or is it a little bit of both?
So I can only give my opinion. I only knew
Of
one
course.
song from this from beforehand, a song called Defying Gravity, which is one of the two big songs. I didn't even know the second song, which I'll get into in a moment. I know it. It's a very powerful song. It's, and a lot of it's basically comes towards the end. It's like the intermission song, but it's the big high note song. And if done right, it's one that gives you goosebumps if you hear it sung correctly. They got to another song called Popular, which I had no clue. Jill's like, well, you should know this one. They sung it everywhere, during presses. And, when they were doing the press release, the actress who played the original Glinda in the Broadway show would always sing the song Popular. I'm like, it seems vaguely familiar. So I think I got the book before the musical came out. I just never got around to it. I
Mhm.
could be wrong. Maybe it was right afterwards. I don't know the time period. I was just like, you know what? I'm intrigued. I do want to see the musical, but again, most of this I went in blind because I only knew that it was based on their backstory. I knew you're going to get a little bit of Afana, the Wicked Witch, her how she became the childhood. How she was born. Things she had to deal with a little bit. Um, so yes, I know a lot of people loved it because of the music. Now, FYI, I had to actually turn off. I did not realize this because this is free on Peacock. Free, here we are with that word again. And there's two versions. There's a sing along version. So I'm like, I almost played that. I'm like, no, no, no. I'm like, I do not want to sing along with this. I'm not ready for this. I do,
Wow.
but there is actually a sing along version because I guess from what I heard, a lot of theater majors or people who just love this musical when they went to the theater, they are singing with the songs, and some people were
Sure.
obviously enjoying it, and other people were like, "Shut the fuck up! I want to hear the movie." I get both points. I'm not going to get into that fight. Whatever, this is when I'm like, I just want to watch it in the comfort of my own home. But yes, there is a sing along version. So I,
Dude, I mean, Rocky Horror has its own thing,
oh
right?
god,
People go see
that
Rocky
yes,
Horror.
I
You
do
know what I'm
remember
saying? And
that.
people know all the songs, and it's like the expectation when you go see Rocky Horror Picture Show now is like you are singing, the audience is participating and they're singing the songs. So that's not like totally out there for me, and it does kind of explain it a little bit. This whole phenomenon has gone way over my head. I don't have kids. I've never had kids. And so I have no reason to be exposed to anything like Wicked. I have no reason to be exposed to these songs. I remember your friend Brian, when his son was like obsessed with The Greatest
The
Showman,
Showman.
that
Yep.
Hugh Jackman, and he would just be his son. That's all his son sang, right? Do
Yeah.
you remember that?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He's probably like 15 years old now, but I digress. It's like
12, 12, 12, 12.
yeah, because
Yes,
I
could be
saw him.
12.
He was like mad little kid. And he was
Yeah.
just singing his heart out, and I was like, this kid loves music. That's fantastic. So yeah, I'm all about music as a concept. I love music. I listen to music every day. I listen to new music, so I totally get that. And I know how things can like catch on that way, and so I'm trying to kind of just wrap my mind around the wicked kind of phenomenon this is. Because I admit I'm on the outside looking in, and from what you're saying, it's like just like Cats and just like Phantom of the Opera, it
Yeah,
has
so it's not your
iconic
style of musical.
songs.
Yeah. Well, I will say this
Yeah.
before I get into the grading system. So there was 14 books made in the early 1900s from Oz. It was a series. So the first Wizard of Oz was written and I'm looking
Lord.
this up now, 1900. So yeah, it
Yeah.
had nothing. So yeah, there is a lot. And so it was this whole,
Gross.
oh my God, hold on. So I'm reading like I knew of a couple, like The Road to Oz. There's a book called TikTok of Oz, written in 1914. TikTok. Hmm.
Wow.
I don't know.
Interesting. Did you ever see the sequel, Return to Oz? With I think it was the debut of Fairuz Balk, who's doing a bunch
No,
of different things.
no. I know of
Um,
that one, but no, I have not. Um,
yeah,
but anyhow,
that's an interesting tricky fucking scenario, but I don't know if I'll see Wicked. But anyways, continue.
no, no, and there's not much more to say. I get it because you're right. This is the kind of musical stuff that I know you don't like. And I also had to look at it because I know it's also very popular, and as we know in this society, whether it's movies, games, we talked about this. When it's way too popular, people just like to shit on it, and I'm like, just enjoy it, whatever. I can get on the whole Final Fantasy VII rant, but we're not here for games. We're here for
No,
movies. Well,
top
and,
200 games would never happen.
but so
Someday.
yes, I liked it because the story was actually good. It's a very interesting backstory. Whether or not you want to see this, that's fine. Like I said, it's not. I need to see this as a complete thing. I kind of
Mhm.
joked that I felt like this could be my new number one. I will say that I was wrong, and that was fine. I was close though, Soto, because this is number two. I am at putting
Wow.
it's over. It
You're
was
the president wicked.
okay, and then I got Jim Henson, right there at number three, in Bohemian Rhapsody. I got all this like musical, and then Clerks three. That's my number five. That rounds out my top. But yes,
That's
I because I'm very intrigued. It left me at a good point where why I know why she's doing what she's doing, but now I'm like, all right, how do they get now from there to basically what's Wizard of Oz? Because now it's going to be finishing that story, and there's only one more, so I am intrigued. So it wasn't like it ended. I'm like, I could care less. I was like, all right, I want more. Like now I need to know. The first half did drag a little bit. I felt like they could have maybe done a little bit more. Maybe I just felt like the character Glinda, the Good Witch, but it was just too much of a ditz, which felt very weird at first. But Ariana Grande did fine. Like I said, I was just a little worried at first. I was never her biggest fan. Like I said, I knew her just from a lot of the shows my daughter watched, but musical wise, and just I was just like, eh. But you know what? It was good. And once I could separate all the outside noise and just focus on what was happening in front of me, I'm like, all right, it's good. It is long, Soto. It is 2 hours and 45 minutes. So I know that'd be hard for you.
First part.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. I'm not interested in what Wicked has to say for 5 hours. If the Broadway show got it done in 2 hours and 45 minutes, why in the fuck does the movie have to be twice as long?
Because they're adding
It's
stuff from the book.
absolutely ridiculous.
I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Who asked for this? Who fucking asked for this? I didn't. I didn't ask for fucking like
You know
soon
what? You're
happy
right, but
Dorothy got there.
based on sales of the book, sales of the musical, and everything that's done, popularity asked for it, and it delivered. It won a
Yeah.
couple Academy Awards as well. I don't know which ones. Probably some costume, and I know it didn't win Best Song because Amelia Perez did. But
Okay,
yeah,
well, we'll see if ever I accidentally see this. I think the closest thing to accidentally seeing a musical that I watched, and it was only because I worked at Blockbuster, was Mamma Mia.
I
I
like
like ABBA,
I like Mamma Mia.
you know.
Yeah. So before we get into my third movie, oh, we're gonna get into my third movie. Soto, as we've been taking this trip on watching 200
Hmm.
new movies,
Yep.
I've been doing a lot of this. Again, I've been enjoying this. Yeah, there's some shit movies I've seen, but I know I just mentioned like Clerks 3, Bill and Ted, Jane Silent Bob. I'm like, God, all these movies that are just nostalgic for me. Jim Henson, I'm like, I'm so happy. And so Tuesday, I was like, all right, I can watch a second movie. And I was on Tubi, Netflix, just
Oh
I was
no.
scrolling. I miss the days of just going through Blockbuster, just trying to scroll. And that's all I do sometimes, scroll. And then something stared at me. And I was looking
Uh,
at that picture. And I'm like, do I
uh,
want to do this? Do I
oh
want
God,
to
what?
ruin this childhood? Because I've heard so much bad shit about this. How bad can this really be? I'm like,
Oh my
fuck it.
God, no. What is
I am about to find out. I'm going to clear my throat for this, Soto, because you're going to question my
it?
sanity. I watched the 2014 movie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the
Oh
remake, the
my,
first
is
remake
that
they did.
is Oh my God, is that where they were like all like realistic turtles and shit? Like a smart.
I wouldn't
Was it
say
live action?
realistic, but
Okay,
yes,
yeah, but they were like it was live action, right? But
it was live
they looked
action.
strange.
All right, taking a deep breath for the Soto. So first it starts off because we know the story. I obviously grew up with the 80s cartoons, the 90s movies. I'm like, that was my shit. I didn't read the comics, so I can't base any of the story of what happened, but I'm gonna base what I know, my turtle lore, on those movies and cartoons. So it starts off.
We're talking about Ninja Turtles right
Oh,
now.
we
I hope
we're
you
we're fucking going here,
I
Soto.
hope you understand that we are talking about Ninja Turtles. So please go ahead.
We're talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2014, Michael Bay. So anyhow, it starts off.
Turtle dicks.
No, we're not going back to that podcast. Um, Splinter is giving kind of the narrative of the beginning, which they kind of glossed over. They don't need to show everything. We kind of know the story. But I'm listening to Splinter. I'm like, something's off. Like he doesn't sound old. He doesn't sound wise. And so do I. Wasn't happy. It's like okay, whatever. It's just the way Splinter sounds. And then they
What does he
start the
sound
movie
like?
with
Sound
April
like he's
O'Neil.
from
April
Brooklyn?
O'Neil is same thing. She's reporter, Channel 6 News. She's got the yellow jacket, Megan
Oh,
Fox,
nice.
whatever.
Yellow.
But
It's got to be yellow jumpsuit, not just a yellow
it's a
jacket, but the
yellow
yellow
jacket.
jumpsuit.
Sorry, yellow jacket. But Soto,
Oh,
she wasn't a
bullshit.
redhead, and I was just like, "What's going on?" And she wasn't even a real reporter. She was like the fluff reporter, doing all the fun stuff, like the guys, almost like the TMZ stuff. She wants to be a real reporter, and yeah, I was just like, "I'm not feeling this April O'Neil." So no, I was getting sad. It took 20 minutes for them to show the turtles. Now, anyone who's seen the trailers knows what the turtles look like. And yes, they are huge. They kind of made them more realistic than the 90s, like bigger. Uh, their faces are kind of scarier and uglier. And I'm trying not to be pissed. And I gave this a chance. But yeah, it
Are
took
they
20.
CG? I'm looking at it
I
right
would say
now.
it's
Are
got to
they?
be it's got to be both. I don't know. It depends on the scenes. Now, I will say obviously because nowadays movies are made better. The action scenes in this were a ton better than the 90s films. I mean, let's be honest. Those 90s films were, really just some easy kicks and punches and very nice edits. But, we even joked, I think we talked about all three were just at the end, there wasn't much of a finale. So, they couldn't really do much in those 90s movies. So, yes, I'm going to say right now, at least the action scenes were a lot better. Um, and yeah, so I'm gonna get to the story of how they became these giant turtles in just a second. But Splinter gets mad because
Okay.
obviously, just like every Turtles cartoon movie that we've seen, they sneak into the real world, take care of the Foot Clan, sneak back to the sewer, but he's like, you can't leave, and he's making them do all these like fun little, I say fun, but tests, things that just hard on the mind and strength, and he's trying to break Michelangelo, and he pulls out a pizza, and he's like, is that pizza? He's like, yes, the first world 99 cheese pizza. So to what earth is there a 99 cheese pizza?
Are there 99 cheeses? I'm sure
He
there are.
started he
I'm
started
not trying
naming
to.
them, and then Mikey fell down and broke his concentration. Um, they got
My
the
God.
personalities were there. You can kind of see it. It was I think Johnny Knoxville did Leonardo. I learned that afterwards, which shocked me. I'm like, really? Um,
Wow.
yeah. So yeah, no, I mean they got some of the that personalities. They got it down. Like I said, the action scenes were great. Yeah, heavily CGI, but at least entertaining for what it was.
Sure.
But I got to tell you how the turtles started. Now we know our turtle lore from, like I said, the 80s cartoons, 90s movies, whatever. What happens, Splinter's kind of his master dies. He takes the turtles in the sewer. There's some ooze. He teaches them kung fu. Okay, that's kind of I mean, it is crazy. Don't get me wrong. A rat teaching four turtles kung fu, karate, and all that shit. But we accepted it. We were kids. April O'Neil's dad worked with basically the main villain in this, who injected the four turtles. She named all four turtles in Splinter. She named them after
Oh.
painters. Oh, she didn't
Oh.
realize it was them until at first.
Oh.
Oh yeah, no, no, no.
Oh.
And
Oh.
then
This is
her dad, seeing
terrible.
what the main villain is doing, tries to stop him, and the guy basically kills her dad, sets the place on fire. But April sneaks the turtles and Splinter, saves them, puts them in the sewer, and just be like, "Good luck." So they've already been injected, and obviously they're in the sewer, and they grow. So
What happened to
so
Splinter's backstory and
oh
shit?
no, there is no Splinter's backstory. But now you're wondering, well, how does he know kung fu and karate? Well, he
Yes.
realized. Oh no, I'm going to get to
Hence
that
his
right now.
backstory.
I wouldn't say there's much of a backstory, Soto. I'm just preparing you for sadness. Um, but anyhow, they're becoming
No.
teenagers, and he's trying to teach them things real life. But he knows sooner or later they're going to have to defend themselves. But somehow in the sewers, Soto, they're just a karate book. That
Book
he
on
reads the book, and
karate.
now he's a master of karate. I wish I was
How you learn how to
joking.
read?
I don't know. Well, he was injected with the serum as well. I don't know. That's just the story. You need to accept it. We all need to accept it. That's just the story. That's the rules they gave us. I don't like the rules. I'm sad by the rules. Um, but it was there. So yeah, I'm not gonna say yeah. This movie tried to ruin my childhood. Again, there were some parts I did laugh at. You can't not laugh at some of the jokes because they're turtle humor. They got that down. The personalities were there. The action scenes, while over the top and silly and very Michael Bay, they were entertaining for what they were. But yeah, so this came very close to breaking me. Oh, hold on. I just kind of flipped over my notes before I was about to give my number, but so Splinter fights. Because obviously they learn where the turtles are, and they send the whole Foot Clan after him. Now
Who
we've seen,
does?
well, the main
Shredder?
guy. Oh, fuck! I forgot Shredder. I've been so sad, dude. I'm about to ruin your childhood even
I've
more.
been
Hold on.
so
Put Shredder aside.
sad.
Put Shredder aside a second, because I need to tell the
How
story that I
can
just
I?
saw in my notes. Because
Okay.
it's right. The Shredder thing's right under this. So Splinter and the No, it's not even Shredder sending them. It's well, Shredder's a part of it, but the guy that injected them with the ooze because he thought this ooze was gone. Like everything, I say ooze, I forgot what the fuck they called it. Because there was nothing
Oh,
left
as
in
if
the
it's
building,
your
and
fridge.
he could never recreate it. But now that he knows they are alive, he needs them alive. So anyhow, Splinter's the first to lead the fight before Shredder gets there in the
Sure.
Foot Clan. Now we've seen Shredder fight, or excuse me, Splinter fight. Splinter leads the fight. I'm sorry, Splinter leads the fight, and
Mhm.
he just does the little kicks. Dude, this guy whips his tail left and like you're just like I did not expect this. Do you remember in Attack of the Clones when Yoda just goes all batshit crazy in that lightsaber fight that we never
Yes,
saw coming?
of
That's
course.
how I felt. I'm like I don't know if I like this, but it's here. So
Well, I
let
mean, we really didn't see a lot of that in the original one.
exactly. Now let me explain to you who Shredder is, or what. So Shredder is, the guy that kind of taught the main guy who did the lab, whatever. But they had update Shredder as well. Update Shredder
Okay.
is like, you picture him in your mind. What remember what we
Of course
saw in
I
those
can.
movies and the cartoons, the simple purple and the blades, now just take those blades and everything and act like Iron Man built him a suit. These blades come flying off, like he shoots blades, and they magnetically come back to him so he can multiply and just keep shooting blades non fucking stop, Soto. Like, I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? This isn't even karate. This is just like insanity. And yeah,
Uh,
he's doing kicks and flips, but he's shooting like 10 blades, and Leonardo's trying to like jump and dive and pass everything. Yeah, so it's Super Shredder on super steroids in a suit,
yeah.
and yeah, it was just,
Wow.
um, but they don't explain anything. Obviously, it's just that's it. Um, and yeah, Shredder,
Well,
instead of dying, he kind of gets, a little ooze and kind of sticks in his blood and disappears. So who knows? I know there's a sequel. I don't know if I want to see the sequel. Ask away, Soto. What
no.
we're
Well,
gonna ask?
here's my question for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Very important question.
Oh,
All right. Is this movie that you just watched better than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3?
oh, fuck.
Because you're shitting on it, okay? And you're acting like the original movies we saw were some sort of fucking gold
Oh no,
mine
no, no! I'm not
of
saying they're gold.
cinema.
I'm not saying they're gold. But what they were for their time. So, like I said,
Sure.
the action scenes were a lot better. Do not get me wrong. Just
But we
everything
saw
that
Turtles in
every
Time. We
story
saw that there.
aspect of it. Um, yeah, you know what? Probably, and that's a very iffy probably. Just because there's a lot of. I mean, obviously it's
Better
turtles.
done.
Here I am saying plot holes,
Well
but if you look at Turtles 3, I mean,
done.
they're samurai warriors with guns, and you're like some scepter, and April, and then Casey Jones is somehow in the past. So there's just a lot of unexplained shit. At least this one had a plot, as crazy it was. It just ruined everything that the turtles were. So is it better?
But better
Yeah,
than.
I probably would rather watch this again than Turtles 3. If I really think about it. Because again, I know we talk about nostalgia of the first three, and you're right. The first one was just a classic in our hearts because we grew up on the turtles. But when when we did those podcasts and the turtle movies, we're like, yeah, there's a lot
Mhm.
of problems. Even the ooze, we were like, oh, because they couldn't get Bebop and Rocksteady, we had to settle for that, whatever. And we had
Oh,
Go
so
Ninja, Go. And there wasn't a
Vanilla
lot of
Ice.
action. They couldn't really do a lot of action scenes with those suits. So hence
Mhm.
why I feel like they were good. Raphael's, they're all their typical selves. But Soto, yes, I am shitting on this. I did at least enjoy some parts. I did say I'm not gonna lie, I laughed at some parts, but it's just I'm watching, I'm like, what the fuck is all this? What is going on? So the question is now where I rank this. And don't worry,
So we're doing.
it's not under the bed. I can't
I
put it.
mean, I wouldn't I wouldn't think it is just based on the fact that it has a plot.
It has a plot, and you know what I mean. It changed a lot of what we knew, and maybe kids today like these turtles better. I don't know. I can only talk about an old me remembering the turtles of the past. So I get it. There's a little bias,
Uh,
but Soto, I had this. I at one spot, then I thought about it. I put this at number 22, which puts it at below Tag and above Beetlejuice. I would rather watch
you
the turtles again than Beetlejuice.
you and your tag movie, man.
Well, here's the thing. I actually had this above Terrifier. I had this at 19 at one time. And I was like, you
Yeah.
know what? I'm going to remember Terrifier more. And then I looked at, like, you know, my old ass and even Wings and Tag. And I'm just like, I'd rather watch Tag than this. Is it? But then I kind of looked at Beetlejuice. I'm like, no, I'd rather watch the Turtles than Beetlejuice. I've said my piece on that movie. I don't want to say it again, but
That is a shocking just shit on of Beetlejuice. Like
Soto,
at
if
least a
you,
Beetlejuice that has Michael Keaton. And I know you're right. I haven't seen it, but wow, Tim Burton must have dropped the fucking bag on that shit.
well, I told you, Michael Keaton, they wasted. I mean, that character could have been so much more. They just, I feel
I
like I
believe you.
want you to see it just so you can understand it. I know how you feel about Tim Burton and how, at least you like the original, but oh man, it is tough. It is tough. But yes, I would rather watch the remake of Turtles than Beetlejuice.
Wow. I mean, that says it all right there.
Yeah. And so I felt like, yeah, I did have Turtles a little higher. Then I started thinking, I'm like, I had to take that nostalgia out. I'm like, let's just stop. I'm like, I did like the action scenes. I can't put this below that. And yes, so it was kind of in that area, like movies which are going to be memorable one way or another, good or bad, for one scene. And I'm like, no, I'm going to remember Terrifier for that one scene. Like it was bad acting, but you're going to remember for Art the Clown in the Split. Tag, like I said, again, it was fun. It was, you know, it is an absurd plot, but they're just like, hey, deal with it. And I'm like, all right, I'm in for the ride. But yes,
Hey, deal with it.
I could not put Turtles below Beetlejuice. So I couldn't.
Wow.
I couldn't.
That's fucking wild. All right. Well, hey, we've discussed a lot of Turtles media. So good on you for reaching out there. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not terribly surprised. We talk about turtles. I'm sure you saw it and you're like, you know what? It's time to get back into the Turtleverse. And yeah.
Well, I just want to say how bad it really was. Like I've heard the rumblings, but it was
And how
bad.
do you feel?
You know,
You
again,
feel like
with this journey, I'm glad. I'm glad to see it because at least now it's kind of I take us back to the blockbuster days. You know, if you came up to me and had the turtles, I saw it and I'm like, listen, I suffered. This is what you're gonna get. Now, if you want to suffer like me, that's fine. I'm like, but if you want to relive your childhood, maybe put it back on the shelf. You know, that's why we saw it. So yes, I'm happy because I'm like that's the point about this. We're seeing movies that we haven't seen that we probably should have, and like I said, it's not the worst thing I've seen. I did enjoy some parts of it. I'm just not going to see it again. I doubt I'll see the sequel, but who knows what the rest of the year might unfold for me. I'm just not rushing to see the sequel. Let's just put it that way.
ah there so you're saying there is a sequel. I guess I can look
I
this
heard there
up.
was a sequel, like it was called Out of the Shadows or something. And now I think they're rebooting
Uh,
it again. So I don't know too much about that at the moment, but I know there is a sequel to the remake. Um, and I think it's just called Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows or something. So there is a sequel out there.
jeez.
Which again,
Okay.
if I
Well,
happen to be scrolling through Netflix, Tubi, or whatnot, and it's there, one day maybe, just not anytime soon.
okay.
So Soda, before we end this, I want to ask you something. We kind of been talking about
Sure.
this from time to time, and I just want to see if you're definitely down for this. Now, we joked about
Okay.
when this started, should we have a week where we pick a movie for each other? No questions asked.
Mhm.
The only kind of, I say rules, but under 2 hours, but more importantly, well, free, but it has to be a movie the other has seen. And with next week kind
Yes,
of
I
being
remember
April Fools, do you want to do
that.
this for next week?
movie that we've seen,
that the other you got.
and it's probably going to be on Tubi, right? It doesn't matter, right? Just as
Doesn't
long as we
matter.
share the
Doesn't
same.
matter. You would, because I'm only asking because if you say yes, I already know which movie I have for you.
Oh, I'm definitely a yes. I don't know what movie I have for you, but
Okay.
I'm definitely a yes.
So Soto, I'm gonna kind of, I'm not gonna spoil it too much, but I kind of want to talk this out with you, and you'll
Okay.
understand why. Now, FYI, this is not a musical. I want to get this straight, but there is going
Appreciate
to be
that.
like a music and dancing element. But think of it like Footloose and those kinds. It's not a musical, so I'm going to say that right now because I
Thank
think
you.
it's it. So just don't worry. But there is songs, there is a little dancing. I don't think you've seen this for two reasons. One, A, it's not on your letterbox. B,
Okay.
this is a 1989 movie, but this movie bombed. This movie also never
Uh-huh.
had an official DVD release.
Oh
Now,
God.
this is give or take, and
It's a,
I don't want to explain
this is
yet.
available?
Oh, it is, and this is where we're going to get to it. Technically, it is on YouTube. Now there is two
Okay.
versions,
Sure.
and that well,
Yep.
here's the thing. Remember, no DVD release. There's two versions, and I'm going to let you pick your poison. I actually watched this movie earlier this week because it's been a while since I've seen it in its entirety. So I kind of want to refresh myself, and there's reasons why I'm picking this for you. And I'll get to the title in a second. But anyhow, it's free on YouTube. One version, it's just when you look it up, it's there. The audio is great, but the video quality, because it's probably VHS, is not that great. The same person uploaded
Wow.
this something and it said DVD quality, which is a lie because it's never in DVD. Where the picture is actually better, the audio is a little worse, and in some scenes there's a buzzing noise. So
Oh,
I
really?
hate to do it. So I
Man,
really
what the
want you.
fuck are you gonna do to me with this?
Well, you might have to watch it on your phone or your Chromebook. So I'm letting you pick your poison,
Like,
which version you want to see. But there's this movie called Sing, and it's from 1989.
Sting?
Sing.
Okay.
It's not a musical, so
Why
no,
is
just trust me. It is not a musical, but there is songs in it. But
just
remember,
sing?
it's
There's no
80s. It's
explanation
80s.
or
It's 80s. So it's going to have the 80s
okay.
cheese that we love, but it's also the 80s cheese which you can, hate. I don't know where you're going. I know we've been on this music. I just want you to realize it's not a musical, but there is songs to it. But it's not like they're singing dialogue. But I have to laugh because IMDb. I want to tell you
Sting.
how they basically. This is what they gave the info. You know how they give like information of what the movie's about. They really did
Mhm.
not put any effort into this. Let me explain to you the one sentence that they wrote: a teen film about an Italian punk forced to work with an innocent Jewish girl. That is the worst explanation of a movie. Real quick, all I will say is yes, it deals with high school kids, and I know you love teenage angst, so that might be a plus. It's basically
Rain, bro.
they put on a competition, which is actually based on a true competition that Brooklyn does or used to do, called Sing. But yeah, so there is hence the singing and
Cuba
dancing.
Gooding
But
Jr.?
say what?
Cuba Gooding Jr. is in this?
A very blink and you miss it. Yeah, so it stars Lorraine Bracco, um, Patty LaBelle, and a
Love her.
couple faces. Trust me when I say Cuba Gooding Jr. I didn't even know that at first because when I first watched this, you know, but yes, he's in it. But it's a blink and you'll miss it line. So I'll leave it at that. I really want
Okay. Sing.
Sing, and trust me, it's not a musical. Now, again, songs and dance, but it's based obviously, as you can see, because it's based, I don't want to say a talent show, but it's like seniors versus juniors. They put on whatever. So that's why. So again, there's two versions on YouTube which have the full, thing. So I just ask, I'm sorry, it's the only way because it used to be on Tubi, but it's gone. If you can find it streaming anywhere else, go for it. I mean, I would even pay like $4 or $5 if it was available. It's not even paid for that, but yes, this is the movie I'm going to choose for
Okay.
you. Now, again, choose whichever version. The one that says DVD quality is better visually, but the audio, it's fine, but some parts you're going to hear like a buzzing noise. The other one, the audio is perfect. I mean, perfect for what it can be, but the video's not as great. So if you're watching this on your big screen TV, good luck. And all I ask is please don't put the DVD or audio quality when you critique the film because that's not part of it. Like, don't get me wrong. I know this isn't going to be in your top five. I just don't think this is going to be in your bottom five. I'm kind of looking. And I have a guess. I'm going to write this down. I'm not going to tell you because I don't. I am going to guess where you might put this because again, it is an '80s movie, and I know how you love
Yeah.
'80s movies, and I know how you love teenage angst. So this is up that alley for you. Just don't be fooled by the title "Sing," but there is songs in it. But it's not like they're singing
Okay.
dialogue. But there's also dancing. Hold on.
I can live with
I think this is going to go right there.
that.
I'm going
Okay.
to write this down for later, but I am going to be honest, and I'll leave it at this. Part of the reason I chose this for you, yes, because there is musical aspects to it, but it's not a musical. It's a film I want to talk about. It's just, and
Okay.
it is selfish, but I'm like, this is a good reason as any to talk about it. So I'm going to leave it at that. But yes, if there's one film, that's the film I'm going to have you watch. 1989 Sing. It's on YouTube. The same guy uploaded it twice, but one just says DVD quality. So you choose. You choose which version. Like I said, if you I'm sorry. It's the only way. If it was free somewhere, that's fine. But this is the only way. But I kind of want to talk about this film for reasons. And yeah, that's it.
For
So yeah,
reasons.
when you know your film movie for me, let me know, and I'll happily watch it, and we'll talk about it next week plus whatever else. So sing
Yeah. So I'll have to take a look at your what you call it, your
letterbox.
films, your letterbox, and see what you haven't seen, and then I mean, yeah, I'll check it out for sure.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
said,
Sing. Okay.
it came out. Yeah, I mean, it bombed in the. I will just say, I think it was made for 11 million, and it didn't make three. I don't know what came out around that time, but it is. You can tell it's an '80s movie. But yeah, and I'm gonna leave it there. I don't want to say anymore. But
Okay.
that is the movie I have for you. Especially when you joked a while ago about musicals, this came to mind. But I'm like, it's not really a musical, but they got songs and dances in it, so I don't know. But it's not gonna be like Wicked where you're gonna be like, Chad, what are you doing? And it's only an hour 40, hour 38, something like that. So that it's the good timetable for you. Um,
I love that. Okay. Well,
yeah,
hey, I'll give it a shot. Fuck
yeah,
it.
yeah. Anyhow, that will do it for the 200 movie challenge. As usual, if there's a movie you guys want us to see, I know Mel's been throwing out movies. I might have to watch
Oh,
one of them finally. Yeah, every time we play Rocket League, she's like, "You guys need to see this," and I forget to write them down. There's something new on Netflix. I forget what it's called. Like, oh fuck it, I'm not gonna try and guess. But let us know.
okay. Hey, look, we're always up for recommendations.
Yep,
So I mean, I'll take that ride with you. You know.
we're almost a fourth of the way done, Seto. We're almost there. Next week will be like our first true quarter. So
Nice.
week
Hey, quarter
12.
one in the books, baby.
Yeah, we'll get to that. That should put us past 50. So we're right on
Nice.
track. So anyhow,
Perfect.
that'll do it. Until next time, just go enjoy some movies.
Just put play.